All right. You don't hear about this a lot from the media, but violent crime is falling across many of America's biggest cities. In the first half of this year, homicides are down more than 17%. Robberies, 16.6%. Rapes declined over 6%. And aggravated assaults down 5.7%. So here's the question. What happens to public safety if the DSA gets more power? Well, one leader was just pressed on their calls to abolish police and prisons, and it was Dodge City.
If my daughter is assaulted and raped, is there any agency that would seek to find her assailant and bring him to justice?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
What would
absolutely.
it be if not police, and where would he be if not a jail?
So I guess I really want to avoid getting kind of caught into these hypotheticals. We're spending absolutely outrageous amounts of money on police and policing, and we're not spending money on things that actually make people safe and feel safe, which is things like actually well-lit streets.
This could sound particularly egregious to a lot of Americans who see somebody calling to get rid of all police, get rid of all our prisons, but can't answer a question like that, Brian Kilmeade.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. And when she said, I don't answer hypotheticals, okay, I have some stats for you that show you that rape, sadly, is not a hypothetical, that is happening on a regular basis. There's crime, so there needs to be punishment. That's why when I watch these DSA officials be interviewed, whether it's Shannon Bream or in The New Yorker with, I think it's David Remnick who did the interview, these people have no answers. They don't belong in prime time. They're a fringe group that found its way into center stage. They're on Broadway right now, and they don't even belong on off-Broadway. They haven't even thought through their beliefs, but their beliefs will totally change the country. They make you laugh out loud if they weren't so serious, but now they have a group, and now they're 150,000. Now they're getting their financing. I'd love to see a big investigation on how they're doing it, but the bottom line is, on the subplot of this, is the crime stats are down across the country. A lot has to do with what's coming, I think, from the White House. Police matter. I got your back. Take pride in the uniform, and the recruiting's up in the military, as well as the men and women in blue.
And Harold, we know, according to the DSA platform and playbook, that if that was an illegal migrant that committed that heinous crime, raping a woman, that they don't believe in deportations either, that person would stay in the country. So do you think she went home and thought it through? And what do you think the answer is? You know, send a social worker and, you know, tell him it was not a good idea and send him home to his family?
I know this. We shouldn't nominate them to be the standard bearers in the Democratic Party. I'm against all the things that they are. No prisons, defunding the police, no ICE, no border lines. These aren't, and to even Democrats, I've tried to say, we shouldn't even respond to this nonsense as being a part of our party. These are people who
are winning elections.
Right, but they're winning some nominations tonight. But I don't consider. I've been a Democrat. I'm 56 years old. I've been a Democrat all of my life. I was born a Democrat. I learned it the old-fashioned way. I was told to be a Democrat by my family. Then I learned what it meant to be one, and I continue to be one. These people aren't Democrats. Let me just get to the issue of the crime. I think this is great. Regardless of your political party, you have to applaud governors and mayors who are on the front line day in and day out of appointing the right people, of funding our police forces, of training our police forces, and ensuring that our prisons able to take prisoners. Now, we've had we argued on this show, and Greg was probably the loudest and most constructive over the last 2 years to make sure that we got past all this Cassius Bell nonsense. I understood the instinct and the impulse early on saying people committing crimes, that even if they were convicted, they wouldn't stay in jail as long as they were as they were waiting for their trial. But we learned that these mayors and some governors and some DAs we're just letting any and everybody out in the street. And we learned that there was such a small population, Greg, of people committing these heinous and violent crimes. We knew how to deal with this. So I give mayors and governors a lot of credit. Democrats in the country, I will say that my Democrats first. If you nominate around the country DSA candidates who answer like that young lady did in Los Angeles, a very basic, not hostile question, but a simple, straightforward question. What happens if my daughter is raped? Whom do I call and where will they be if they get convicted? And her answer was, I'm not going to answer a hypothetical. She's not a Democrat. I don't know what she is. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt because I'm my faith, but she should not be in elected office, and we should not be nominating these people under our party banner.
Appreciate that, Harold. Emily, when you look at the crackdown on crime that's currently happening under this administration, these policies are working. In fact, they've just decided to keep the National Guard deployed in D.C. through 2029, I believe. Because guess what? Crime's down. It's working.
Yeah, thank goodness. Here's what I wanted to underscore, too. The interviewer who pushed back, because when he first asked the question...
That was in Los Angeles, right? That was right.
Yes. Okay. And Gil's answer was absolutely. And then he said, oh, which one? Which agency? Which jail? And then she folded in and admitted that she didn't have an answer. There is a sore lack of pressing into the questions and the concepts from the mainstream media on the left. So finally, here we have an exposure of where exactly her brain is, which is that a well-lit street will save lives. Yes. No, it won't. A well-lit street did not save Sarah Gilson, who we all saw shot yesterday after she said out loud that her husband was a pedophile. But you know what would have saved? Actually securing the restraining order that was on the books for him. It would not have helped the sweet elderly woman I sat next to at dinner who talked about getting punched in the face here in New York by a guy that put glass in his fist. So he shredded her face open. Well-lit street would not have happened. That would have been whether we commit the mentally ill in this city. It doesn't help that this month, when a 7-year-old child was beaten and tortured to death by his trans parents, that the mainstream media called women. The whole point is the well-lit street does not save anything. What does help is the spokes of the criminal justice wheel actually working. We have seen the Democrats totally castrate the district attorneys. They are no longer DAs, right? When you start to take away the important and crucial pieces of the criminal justice wheel, then it stops working. So now they are trying to take away law enforcement. And all of them have caricaturized what law enforcement means. They think it's all Officer Krupke. The reality is that law enforcement is cold cases and missing peoples. And it's all of the intercollateral agencies like FBI Tech that just saved a 6-month-old and a 16-year-old endangered children in 24 hours. Those aren't the stories you hear about because these guys are too busy painting everything as a portrait.
I can't imagine how hurtful that non-answer was to families, to victims of crimes like rape.
It's always a left-wing chick, though. Left-wing chicks are more dangerous to women than the criminals that prey upon them, because it's the left-wing chicks that let those people out, let those people roam, let them have no bail because, race. Look, I want to talk about the decline in these crime stats, because it is good news in the sense that we finally emerged from the post-George Floyd hell. Thanks to the hysteria directed at cops, we saw a 40% drop in police stops and arrests for obvious reasons, and that led to a homicide spike of 54%. So now actual police has rebounded because we knew it was necessary, but the people that hated them realized they needed them in their neighborhood. Arrests went up almost 40%. Homicides dropped 32%. Add to that, we're replacing progressive prosecutors with tougher DAs. Where did those progressive prosecutors come from? You know where they came from. So the take-home is this. There was so much unnecessary, avoidable death created by a cowardly, agenda-driven media and politicians who were cowed by BLM activists. Do you want to go back to that? Because if you elect these people, you're going to have 2021 all over again. And believe me, I'm in my early 30s. It's still the worst year that I've ever experienced on this planet. And that includes that time I went away to camp with Kilmeade.
We've never gone to camp together. That's misinformation. How dare you?
Same sleeping bag.
All right, coming up, the far left takes the field, and now football is getting sacked.
Attention all planets of the Solar Federation, this is the Anti-Marxist Magnum.
How you guys doing? Welcome back. This is episode 6 of the Anti-Marxist Magnum. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Over the past 5 episodes, we've traced the history of Marxism from its origins with Marx and Engels, all the way through to the Fabian Society. And by the way, it came out about a week ago, one of my new films, The Fabian Socialists, is out now. This is a group that when I first started talking about them, found out about them in 2008, before my second film, The Secret Right Volume 1, came out. No one really knew about the group, and you know, I was shocked to find out that they funded both sides of American politics through groups like the Council for National Policy on the right and the Council on Foreign Relations on the left. That's how Britain controls America's politics with socialism, is they fund both sides. And I had already come to that conclusion on my own, but to have something tangible that I could point people to and go, look, this is what they do. Well, I always learn something every time I make a new film. And this new film, The Fabian Socialists, was no different. I hope you all will see it. Please get a copy. And help us raise $240 by Tuesday. Dayglow76 at yahoo.com is how you donate. Reeves Radio, all lowercase, one word, Reeves Radio on the Cash App. Capital J Josh dash capital R Reeves dash 61 on Venmo. And you can buy all of my films in the download store, and that helps me eat, frankly. All right. So, in the first 5 episodes of this show, we really got into a wide variety of stuff, all under the umbrella of exposing the now recurring threat of Marxism. Fact of the matter is, it never really went away. If you think it ever went away, you just haven't been paying attention. But here's a question that I've been saving for this episode. What comes next? Because Marxism isn't going away. It's not some, dusty ideology confined to history books. I mean, look at what's going on in the Democratic Party right now. I mean, you even got old school Democrats who are standing up against what the socialists and Marxists and communists are trying to do to their party. It's alive and well. It's evolving. It's adapting to the 21st century. I mean, the way that Marxism is adapting now and changing, it would surprise even Marx himself. So, on this episode, we're going to look at the future of Marxism. Where it's headed, what new forms it's taking, but most importantly, how do we prepare for what's coming? Here's something interesting. according to a guy named Kohei Sato, a leading Marxist scholar at the University of Tokyo, the return of Marx has not been the return of Marxism. Think about that for a moment. Marx is being taken more seriously today than he has been in decades. But not in the way that you might suspect. His work is now circulating through debates on climate breakdown, archaeological transformation, inequality, and the future of capitalism itself. But why? Well, because as this guy Sato puts it, the basic categories of capital, commodity, value, money, the endless imperative of accumulation, all these things seem to illuminate the present with a clarity that more recent frameworks just struggle to match. In other words, Marx's critique of capitalism is being resurrected. But it's being stripped of the old revolutionary language. The new Marx isn't about gulags and 5-year plans. It's about inequality, climate change, and the feeling that the system is rigged. And that makes Marx more dangerous now than he was when he was alive. One of the most significant developments in Marxist thinking is the application of Marxist theories to artificial intelligence and digital technology. Marx himself argued that machines and algorithms are something that he called dead labor. They can't create value on their own. They can only amplify the value created by human workers. But in the age of AI, Marxists are rethinking this. Some scholars now argue that we're seeing a transformation from human surplus value to AI algorithmic surplus value. In plain English, it means AI isn't just a tool anymore. It's becoming a new source for exploitation. There's one concept called artificial feudalism that predicts AI will generate artificial labor that remains trapped within existing platforms and property relations. Well, what would be the result? A new class of workers who are exploited not by factory owners like in the past. They'll be exploited by algorithms. Here's what that means in practice. According to the 2026 Socialist Register, a major Marxist publication, socialists are now warning that AI will usher in a late capitalist dystopia, characterized by irreversible damage to the natural environment wars brought on by new modes of global competition among capitals, and the inevitable squeeze on capitalist profits and human labor. But here's the thing. They're not, pardon my French, but this is fucked up. Because they're not saying this with sadness. They're saying it with anticipation, like they're ready for it to be here. They believe AI will create They believe that AI will create the conditions for revolution. Mass unemployment, economic collapse, and a desperate working class ready to overthrow the system. Yes, folks. Why do you think there's so much disinfo and negative things said about American AI, but you don't hear anything about this coming from other companies or other countries' AI like China or Russia? You hear about, the one AI tried to blackmail this guy. Well, that was a test. There's been some other Anthropic incident recently. The AI can't do anything it isn't programmed to do. It's going to become the scapegoat of the future. These fuckers are just going to do shit and then use AI as a patsy, as the Oswald, as the scapegoat. That's what we're heading towards. Every time, the whole thing with like the scaremongering around the data centers, that's all come out. That has all come from China. Every time one of these data centers gets shut down, China gets a certain percentage ahead of us in AI. So all these negative stories we're hearing about AI, they're being pushed specifically in the American media, are all Chinese propaganda, because it's getting to the point, if they don't slow us down, we're going to surpass China and they're never going to catch us. So they're heavy on the propaganda right now, folks. So, I mean, there's some people that are even predicting that AI could lead to what they call a quasi-communist or quasi-capitalist system that combines high automation, market economics, and universal social dividends. If that sounds utopian to them, it should sound like a fucking nightmare to us. Another major development is the marriage of Marxism with environmentalism. And that's really the newest development in Marxism, in my opinion. They call it eco-socialism. The argument goes like this. Capitalism's endless drive for growth is destroying the planet. Therefore, we need to abandon capitalism in order to save the environment. That sounds like straight out of the fucking AOC playbook. It's a seductive argument, especially for dummies and young people who are, genuinely concerned about climate change. They've been fear-mongered to death about it. And surprisingly, or not surprisingly, really, it's gaining traction. At the core of this movement, though, is a concept called degrowth. And this is important to understand because this is a real concept, and you definitely saw it for 4 years under Joe Biden. Intentional stifling of growth. It's the idea that we need to deliberately shrink the economy to save the planet, Because if the economy's good, that means obviously we have to be destroying the planet if the economy's good. That's what they believe. They're fucking retards. In other words, they want to use environmental concerns as a justification for abandoning free markets altogether. That's their plan. Now, remember the old school Marxists? They talked about the proletariat and the bourgeoisie and class struggle. It was all about economics. But that's not this new version of Marxism that's gaining traction. This is something different. This new Marxist wing of the Democratic Party is not particularly the same old-fashioned Marxism that was anti-capitalist. Instead, it's intersectionalists, anti-Semites, and people that are opposed to American history as an example of exceptionalism. They're America-hating Marxists. Let's just call them what they are. They believe that marginalized minorities have been unfairly treated by what they call the white patriarchy. But see, unlike traditional Marxists, they're okay doing all of this in a capitalist environment. So they want us to reap all the benefits from capitalism while fighting against it. I mean, think about it. They don't want to nationalize the means of production. They just want to control who benefits from capitalism. And they want to be the only ones that do. They want to reallocate the benefits of the capitalist system through higher taxes, wealth taxes, and more government control. And they want to decide who gets what. It's been estimated that about 15% of the Democratic Party self-identifies as part of this Marxist wing. But that 15%, that's where all the energy of the Democratic Party is right now. The old school Democrats have, at least they're against this Marxist stuff, but they have, just don't have any momentum. Thanks to Joe Biden. He won't for a long time. And here's the thing. This is a global Marxist revival that's going on right now. Marxism isn't just evolving in the Western world where most of us live. It's also being actively promoted by the world's largest communist state. In July 2026, last month, the 13th Socialist International Forum was held in Beijing, China. The theme was Marxism and the new developments and trends of socialist practice. The forum brought together representatives from socialist countries, including China, Laos, Vietnam, Cuba. They discussed how to respond to economic crises and geopolitical conflicts, as well as issues like climate change and other intertwined issues. So, what was their conclusion? Their conclusion was this: Marxism is the compass of the times, a scientific guide for understanding the modern world. One of the key themes of this meeting was how artificial intelligence and big data and the digital economy can be understood through a Marxist framework. The Chinese Communist Party sees Marxism as a tool for analyzing new quality productive forces and profound changes in the relations of production. In other words, they're actively adapting Marxism to the 21st century and openly talking about it. And they're exporting that vision to the rest of the world. There's also a darker side to this new Marxism. One that's willing to use violence to achieve their goals. In June 2026, the FBI foiled a terrorist plot to attack UFC Freedom 250. The suspects, who were influenced by neo-Marxist ideology, planned to target politicians and wealthy people in an attempt to jumpstart a revolution. According to the Washington Examiner, these suspects follow the same violent philosophies of yesteryear. They're described as contemporary iterations of the wannabe revolutionary groups in the 1960s and 70s, such as the Weather Underground and the New World Liberation Front. The article asks a pointed question: how many people have to be killed or be in danger of being killed before American society rejects the dangerous tenets and actions of 21st century neo-Marxism? Great question. Question worth asking. But a lot of people want to know, well, what does this mean for me? You know? What's all this mean for the average American? It means Marxism isn't going anywhere. It's not going away. It's here to stay. And we got to fight it. And I need your help, folks. Make a donation, buy some films, do something. It's not going away, and not only that, it's evolving. It's adapting. It's finding new ways to infiltrate our society through technology, through environmentalism, through identity politics. And now, through the mainstream political parties. And here's the really dangerous part. The new Marxism doesn't look like the old Marxism. It doesn't talk about revolution. it doesn't talk about gulags. It talks about fairness, justice, and saving the planet. Things we can all, just hypothetically speaking, get behind, right? I made my new film, The Fabian Socialist. You should get a copy. This is the Fabian strategy on steroids that we're seeing right now. Slow, steady infiltration of the culture and our political system itself. But we can fight back, goddammit. And that's what I'm trying to do with this show. We can educate ourselves. We can manage to find a way to deal with this threat. We can engage with ideas. We can support independent media like mine that actually wants to tell the truth. And we can build our own institutions that resist the collectivist impulse. We'll talk more about the things we can try to do to take action against this threat next week. Because it's not enough to understand the problem. We got to do something about it. This is the Anti-Marxist Magnum. And I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Big truths, clear opposition. Till next time, stay free, stay skeptical, never stop asking questions. We'll see you next week.